Okay, so hi guys, and so the topic that I want to go over today is a bit of a broad one. As a professional that's trying to always improve, how do you take people with you? And when we go to the bottom of this one, I mean colleagues, friends, family, because as you climb that ladder, however slowly or quickly, your mentality is changing, your perspective's changing. I don't know whether it's widening or narrowing. It's hard to know because you're experiencing it yourself, but you're becoming a different person. And I've often found, for example, me and Jankee worked closely together. We've become more alike. How much of that is in us already? Beforehand, who knows? But in many ways, we become more alike. And I kind of, in a way, get some solace talking about certain. We don't agree on everything, of course. Talking about certain things with you because we're going to get it because of our experience and the things that we're looking at. Whereas sometimes if I go elsewhere and it's not the same, not to say I'm ahead or behind anybody, but we're on a different journey. So given that life is important, your friends and family and your colleagues are important, how do you take people with you so you're not, whilst developing, alienating yourself, both professionally and personally? And what's the worst that can get on both of those levels if you take that to the bottom?
Yeah, if we're going to take it to the bottom, I can see that you and Jankee are even starting to look similar. So I'm kidding. But obviously,
unless that's bad for you or me.
I'd be flattered, Jankee.
The obvious ones being that you get people saying, oh, you think you're all this, or you think you're all that. Or even sometimes you can say, oh, a certain thing works. And I think sometimes it takes time, it takes effort, it takes hard work to do a thing. And people may sometimes give up on it before they see the results of what you say, of what you suggest to them. So they may just say, oh, it's just talk or whatever. There's so many things. There's so many things.
And along that waiting path, you've got people waiting for you to fail because you're going to fail as you're trying to do stuff. And it's like, gotcha, see you failed. We do it to celebrities. We wait until they crack and we go, knew who's going to crack. I knew Will Smith was going to crack. I knew that person's going to crack. It's like, but they're trying to achieve something. And so they're going to have some missteps on the way. And so now you've got people waiting on your downfall almost.
Or as well, even on the back of that, you've got people that are waiting around for you to succeed. And that's not really what you're trying to instill. You're trying to bring people with you, whereas they're just trying to wait and see, oh, well,
on a bandwagon.
Does it not work? And, this stuff takes time. It takes years. So are they going to spend years just watching you? And then you get there and it's like, oh, or you get to a better place, then it's like, oh, could you help me, or It's like, no, we're trying to go on this journey together. So both ways is you've got people kind of just watching and waiting.
Also, your like skills gap might widen if you're not taking them with you. So you've then got, you and I still, I think year on year, we will look at each other and go, oh, you know what? I've made real development this year. If you're doing that as a group of people and the rest of your team aren't because they're not in management level or whatever, the gap between the two can get quite large, and eventually you've just got a team that doesn't quite meet the expectations of what you were trying to do because you never managed to pull them into what you were thinking, your philosophy or your ethos. So there's a real danger with that skills gap being created.
And sometimes it's not even skills. Sometimes it's literally just perspective gap.
I agree.
You view things, and that creates disharmony because what you're seeing at this new place that you're trying to climb through, where you climb this mountain and say the atmosphere is different up here, so you're literally breathing and doing things different. But if you're not at that level of atmosphere, or if you're in a different atmosphere, let's say, you're not breathing in, so the instructions aren't coming across. You can't even get the same equipment because they're not breathing at the same atmosphere. And so, again, I don't necessarily think this is just about thinking that you're above people and how do I look down on the people beneath, but it's literally saying in different journeys, you're taking different paths. And how do you take people on that path? And so maybe I should reword it. It's not that you've climbed above people, it's that you've gone ahead into a different direction. You might have taken a left where other people might go right, and suddenly you can't communicate well. And I think, do you think it affects you professionally and personally? And is there a difference in how it affects you in those areas?
I'm very different personally. I think I'd like to become different personally. I don't really look at So, for example, my family and me, generally, there's someone in my family that has very different politics to I have. And we've both gone slightly different ways. And I have to respect that this is someone that is in my family, and I'm not going to limit that person to their development, what they think they've done, and the thoughts that they're having. They believe are intellectual, and there probably are some of them, and I believe that my thoughts are intellectual. So I just think that's a different, do you love each other as family and friends, or do they bring something to your life and all of that? And I don't know, I think there's two different things. There's some relationships you have where they're beneficial in some way, but there are some relationships that are just relationships. They're just, you've got to maintain them, and even if you grow in different ways, try and keep those together. I think that's a completely different. I think I'm a completely different person when it comes to that.
I think that is important to key on, because as much as we, I think part of what you were trying to get at, Deola, is you say that, oh, you feel like you've grown, you feel like you've made progression, and therefore you want to share that. You want to give those other things to people. But as Jankee is saying, different people have different paths, and sometimes anything is not for another person. I'll give you guys another example on my end. I can be very task management oriented, and I'm trying to forever talk people into using this system and that system to improve effectiveness. Not just like professionally, but also like in your personal life. And I found that, when I talk about this stuff with some people, it's received well, and other people, they're like, oh no, I'm going to stick with my pen and my paper and da 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 da. And that kind of, as much as I can see the inefficiencies in that, and that rubs me up the wrong way, that's what works for them. That is their thing, that is their way, and maybe they just need to get better using that particular system.
Okay, I guess I've almost played safe a bit, and I know we've got to bring it back up, but just to really bring it down, I've skated away from the area which is uncomfortable, and I don't think I want to do that. Everybody wants success. Everybody wants to be in charge of something. Well, not everybody, let's just say everybody, yeah? There is a cost of that. And so if your lifestyle's changing, it can create alienation. It might not always be, it might sometimes be subtle. It might not always be spoken to you. Why are you spending that? Why are you doing this? Why are you going there? It could be the way you think, the way you act, the way you behave, the way you get through COVID and the pandemic. There's different things that happen when you achieve the things that most people want to achieve. As you start achieving them, if you don't take people with you, you can create alienation. And that's why if you're fortunate, your family all succeeds together, your friends all succeed together, your team feels like they're all succeeding together. But the moment where there's that separation, where it feels as though things are different between you, how do you deal with that alienation that inevitably comes? And I guess what I was asking is, what are the real negative consequences of not being able to bring people with you in that journey?
Well, it's a relationship breakdown, really. If you can't take them with you, and you're now on completely different journeys, and you can't see each other's viewpoint, and why are you spending money on this because you've done really well and I haven't, or whatever it is, then that relationship might not last that long. If, like I said earlier, if that's important to that relationship. Some people it's just not important personally. I agree that for some people it is, but I don't.
Ask yourself this: how uncomfortable is it? How uncomfortable is it even to talk about the thought that someone who you're close to might be thinking, and you might be doing someone else who's gone ahead of you? How uncomfortable is it to us acknowledge that feeling that, wait, and some people are, you can tell them they're really genuine and they don't care. They're just happy for you, but there's a group, there's a person, it could be us, where you create alienation and it's uncomfortable.
So how does it feel if someone was feeling like that to me as a leader, someone who's doing well? I don't care. If they weren't supportive of you as your friend, then they're not your friend. They're just a person that you're managing to bump into every now and again, or whatever it is. They're not your friend. They're not supporting you.
So I'll ask you this: if you had people, friends or family, and I'm not going to ask you to say if you know who they are, they're true, and you felt that happening, how do you insulate yourself from feeling it? If you thought and believed this person had my interests at heart, but as you started to step into this doing well, and I'm fairly sure you've got some experience of this, where you start to think, wait, you're not as happy for me as I feel like you should be, and it's created issues. So how do you deal with that as somebody who's still trying to go further in to be successful?
I don't care. I don't know. Maybe I'm just. I don't know. Is that bad? I don't care what they think about me. So I've said to you quite a few times that we can't be, or we can't live as if we are in someone else's head. You're a fictionalized version of whatever is in someone's head. Like, there's nothing I can do about that. So if I hold myself well, I share my expertise, or I share whatever I can with my family or with my friends, and I try and bring them along with me. I literally don't care what they think about me, which is weird. I didn't think I was like that, but I think I've got an example like that where I'm like, I don't care what you think about me.
So you've said a couple of things in this so far that I want to come back to. One I'll do now. So I think that works really well in a sense for some people that, okay, if some people don't want to go with you, let them go. Does that also work professionally? Because now you need them to do their part.
So again, so sorry to take the microphone, but I've said again to other people, which is, why do we expect the company, which is this 50-person strong, whatever it is, and that's got 6-7 years of history potentially, or whatever it is, why do we expect that to grow at exactly the same rate as every single member of staff within it? People have different aspirations, they have different things they want to do. We've seen people go off and do their own businesses, which are fantastic because they've gone away and done something that they want to do, but we're still upset to lose them because they're a good member of staff. But you just accept that actually your paths have gone completely different ways and can't be expected to all grow together. And if you are completely okay with that, then I think that it makes it easier to be, it's more palatable when you do kind of go different ways. Just go, that didn't work, that we were on different paths. But I agree that not everybody thinks that way, that you do get people that are looking at you sometimes going, oh, she thinks she's done really well and she's a bit flashy with her new car or whatever it is. And it's sad, but
it is what it is.
The thing that always gets to me the most about this stuff, right, is that maybe this is just genuine, but I don't think of myself that way, right? I don't think that of myself. I don't really think I've done anything. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm just at the beginning of the journey, and like, even, well, I guess comparing companies, it's a slightly different story between us, me and you guys, but I guess people will still look at what's been done and say, oh, wow, you've done really well for yourself. And I'm just like, nah, I haven't started. I'm not even started.
You've got more to do. Yeah.
I've just got more to do, and I want to keep on pushing. So I don't know. I guess maybe if you transmit as much of that as possible, and people kind of get an idea that, okay, well, this is not someone who, I don't know, this may be bringing it up a little bit. But this isn't someone who thinks all that of themselves, but someone who's just pushing and trying to achieve as much as possible.
So it makes me think of a topic for a future day, which is, can you celebrate your success and should you openly in this country? But I guess staying on where we're at today is, in terms of what you both said, is there's an element of, because I think we've naturally found some solutions already, is you have to almost live and let live. Don't be so fit, like you said, don't have an idea of someone in your mind and don't believe that you are someone in theirs. Like, you have to let people grow and take their own paths, and if they see you again down the road, that's great, and that's professionally and personally. And again, I guess the bottom line to what you're saying there about not expecting everyone in the company to drive at your pace. Some people will drive ahead of you and go and do their own thing. Others need to be let go because they can't stay with you. But you should do what you can to keep people together. But if they don't want to go on that journey, then they need to be on a different train or on a different bus or on a different plane or a different vessel, because there's somewhere that you as a company need to go. And I suppose when you do that, hopefully you end up with the right people with you. And I suppose that's probably true in your personal life as well as in your professional life.
Yeah, I think so.
You get the people who are your tribe, who are going to be thinking like you. And sometimes that might be painful, sometimes it might be difficult, but ultimately you're going to be left with the people who can go on that journey in that direction with you.
Yeah.
And it's probably easier to do the more honest you are, which, if we was answering that question before about should you celebrate your successes and talk about your goals and dreams without being coy about them, maybe you should. Because if you talk about what you want, you're going to get around other people who want that. And if you talk about what you've done, you're probably going to get around other people who've done that. And then you're going to find the people you can walk with and work with. And so maybe we all need to be a bit more open about things that we're doing well and the things that we want to do.
Definitely.
I think also being open about the difficulties, the struggles. That lets people know that it's hard, that it's tough, and it makes the whole thing way more relatable.
Okay, so I think we've had a good innings here. So I'll summarize into a final question for you to help me with. What is the right way to bring people with you, if at all you can? Like, what is the mental perspective to take as an individual that keeps you from going crazy, overthinking it, doing too much? What's the level of which you should be comfortable, radically or sensibly, about what you need to do, what you need to change, how you need to behave and speak to bring people with you personally and or professionally?
I think people know when you're phoning it in and when you're not passionate about something. And so you've got to get your message right, and you've got to make sure that you actually care about the thing that you're trying to strive to achieve, because that you don't get buy-in if you don't have that kind of passion to say, this is why we're doing this, this is the reason we exist as a company, this is our goal. And I think that has to be communicated really effectively to get people to join and to get people to come with you and trust you to take you down that road, and trust themselves. But also you've got to be okay with people not coming on board with you because they want to do other things, and you can't be hurt by resignations and things like that, because they've just got to, you should support and champion them to move on, because they're not going to be happy with you, so why should they stay with you if they're not going to be happy?
Yeah, for sure. Be honest about where you're going. Don't want to have a train which doesn't say where it's headed, and then people get upset halfway down the track. Yeah,
I'd rather know that someone wants to go and do this in 10 years, because you can help each other get there to a point, and then eventually you'll diverge and be on different tracks.
Yeah, that's really good.
Something that I do in that vein is, obviously people have got passions, people got things they want to do that will take them in different directions, and I'm very much someone who likes to have those conversations with people, and where stuff aligns, just work on projects together. Always look to push that stuff as far as possible, and I think in the act of traveling together, you will grow together. But just as many different projects together with different people that I know, that I'm friends with, that I get on well with, and sometimes it works, sometimes it just doesn't, sometimes it just fizzles, sometimes it just dies. But I think as many of those as possible. I don't know. I don't know if maybe that's
can I say,
but that's just something I tend to do.
So I think a good summary between what you're both saying is, on one hand, you can go ahead, be clear where you're going, and whoever wants to come with you comes with you. But then also, so you're not consistently kicking people out of your life, Charlie, it's finding different things you can do that allow you to travel with that person. It might not be in work, it might be different passions, and that's how you have friendships which are different. It's not all about work, it's not all about love, it's not all about this, that, and the other, but you have different journeys with different people. And if you're honest about who you are and where you're going, people will get on board with the things they can get on board with. And if that can sustain your whole relationship, great. So I think that helps me massively. So thanks.
You're welcome.